There's a ranch in northeastern Utah where people claim they've seen unidentified creatures, massive glowing objects in the sky, strange animal mutilations, invisible forces, and things that seem to appear and disappear without explanation. And somehow that's only the beginning. Skinwalker Ranch became one of the most infamous paranormal locations in America because of one terrifying idea. What if one place attracts multiple phenomena at the same time? UFO sightings, cryptid encounters, poltergeist activity, radiation, disappearances, voices, creatures, almost as if reality itself behaves differently there. The property is located in the Uinta Basin of Utah. Long before the ranch became famous online, local indigenous legends already described the region as deeply dangerous, especially stories connected to the Skinwalker. In Navajo folklore, a skinwalker is often described as a witch capable of shapeshifting or using dark spiritual practices, and traditionally, people do not casually talk about them. Even saying the word is considered deeply uncomfortable by many, which makes the internet's obsession with the topic feel even stranger. But the modern Skinwalker Ranch story truly exploded during the 1990s. That's when the Sharman family purchased the property. At first, everything seemed normal. A ranch, open land, livestock, quiet nights. Nothing that suggested the property would eventually become one of the most famous paranormal locations in the world. But according to the family, strange events began almost immediately. They reported seeing unusual lights moving silently across the sky, objects that seemed too bright to be aircraft, too controlled to be meteors, and too strange to ignore. Then came the animals. The Shermans described cattle behaving as though something invisible was frightening them. Dogs reportedly reacted aggressively toward empty areas of the property. Livestock would suddenly panic for no obvious reason. And then came one of the most famous stories associated with the ranch, a massive wolf-like creature. According to the family, the animal approached their livestock in broad daylight. It appeared unusually large, far larger than an ordinary wolf. Even stranger, it reportedly showed no fear of humans. The family claimed they approached the animal, yelled at it, and eventually attempted to shoot it. Yet, according to their account, the creature seemed almost unaffected. The story quickly became one of the defining legends of Skinwalker Ranch. Now, realistically, there are possible explanations for parts of these stories. Memory changes over time. Fear distorts perception. And unusual encounters in rural environments can sometimes become far stranger in retrospect. But Skinwalker Ranch became famous because the stories never stayed in one category. If it were only strange animals, people would dismiss it. If it were only UFO sightings, people would compare it to the other UFO hotspots. But the reports kept piling up, and every new report seemed to belong to an entirely different mystery. The family claimed to witness glowing objects moving silently across the sky, large black figures standing in distant fields, unexplained voices, strange mechanical sounds beneath the ground, and perhaps most disturbing of all, their livestock began dying under bizarre circumstances. Some animals were reportedly found mutilated. Witnesses described injuries that appeared unusually precise, missing organs, little visible blood, no obvious signs of predation. Stories like these spread rapidly through paranormal communities. But what happens next is what transformed Skinwalker Ranch from a local legend into a worldwide mystery. because eventually billionaire Robert Bigelow became interested. Bigelow had spent years researching reports involving UFOs and unexplained phenomena. Unlike most people, he had the resources to investigate unusual claims on a large scale. And instead of simply visiting the ranch, he bought it. Bigelow purchased the property and launched investigations through an organization called the National Institute for Discovery Science, known as NIDS. For years, researchers monitored the ranch, interviewed witnesses, installed equipment, collected reports, and attempted to document whatever was happening there, which immediately made the entire story feel more unsettling because now scientists or researchers were taking the location seriously enough to spend years studying it. According to various accounts, investigators documented strange equipment failures, unexpected electromagnetic readings, unusual animal behavior, and events they struggled to explain. Cameras reportedly malfunctioned at critical moments. Surveillance systems failed. Sensors stopped working. And equipment sometimes appeared to break without warning. Of course, equipment failure alone doesn't prove anything supernatural. Technology fails all the time. But the frequency of such reports became part of the ranch's growing reputation. Then came some of the strangest claims. Witnesses described glowing spheres of light moving through the property. Some claimed the lights intelligently responded to observers. Others reported seeing what looked like openings in the sky, almost like temporary windows appearing in midair. One account described a large creature allegedly emerging from one of these openings before disappearing again. Now, there's absolutely no verified evidence proving events like this occurred. But stories like this help build the mythology surrounding the ranch. And over time, Skinwalker Ranch became less of a location and more of a phenomenon. Then another layer was added: government interest. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, reports emerged linking Bigelow's research efforts to programs connected to investigations of unidentified aerial phenomena. The details remain controversial, but the connection was enough to fuel public fascination, because people began asking a new question. If none of this is real, why was so much money being spent investigating it? Over the years, investigators and witnesses described unexplained electromagnetic activity, radiation spikes, equipment malfunctions, aerial phenomena, sudden feelings of dread, headaches, disorientation, and an overwhelming sense that something was watching them. I think one reason Skinwalker Ranch became so famous is because it feels less like one mystery and more like every paranormal category collapsing into the same place. UFOs, cryptids, ghost-like phenomena, psychological experiences, strange lights, strange creatures, strange sounds, everything blending together, which creates a terrifying possibility. What if people aren't dealing with separate phenomena at all? What if they're seeing different versions of the same thing? Of course, skeptics argue that there is little hard evidence supporting the more extreme claims. And realistically, many stories surrounding the ranch have probably been exaggerated over time. Media attention, television shows, internet culture, decades of retelling. All of these things naturally transform unusual locations into legends. But even skeptics admit something interesting about Skinwalker Ranch. The sheer number of reports is difficult to ignore completely. especially because witnesses often describe entirely different experiences. And maybe that's what makes the ranch feel so disturbing. There's no single story to hold on to. No clear monster, no clear explanation, just endless reports of things behaving wrong. Even today, the ranch continues attracting investigators, tourists, scientists, and paranormal enthusiasts from around the world. People still report strange lights, strange sounds, strange feelings. I think Skinwalker Ranch terrifies people for a very simple reason. Most horror stories follow rules. Ghost stories behave one way, alien stories behave another. But Skinwalker Ranch feels chaotic, unpredictable, like something capable of becoming whatever scares you most. And maybe that's why the ranch continues haunting modern paranormal culture. Because deep down, people are terrified of places when reality itself stops feeling reliable. A place where you can look into the darkness and no longer trust what you're seeing. Or worse, a place where something might be looking back,